Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Madgavira Vigopala Svikuryat Kripayayati Tadaiva Sambhayaha Pitva Rishayustat Priyajanaham. Out of all the things that we can say about Balaram, it's really Ananta. To glorify Shesha is Ashesha. So it's hard to really make a decision, but I was struck by reading the verse of Jayadev Goswami in the Gita Govindam. He says, Vahasi vapushi vishadeva sanam jaladabham halahati bhiti milita yamunabham Keshavadhrita haladhara rupa jaya jagadisha hare. That means you wear these garments on your beautiful white form, white like the full moon, blue moon we've heard, but those garments are bluish, just like the water of the Yamuna. And the Yamuna herself is described halahati bhiti milita yamunabham. That color or that Yamuna is afraid and she's trembling because of fear of being destroyed by the plow of Lord Balaram. Keshavadhrita haladhara rupa jaya jagadisha hare. All glories to you, Lord Hari, Keshava, who've assumed this form as Haladhara. Haladhara means the wielder of the plow. We don't normally think of a plow as a weapon, and throughout Srila Prabhupada's books we've undoubtedly already heard that Lord Balaram's plow represents what? What does Lord Balaram's plowshare represent? Agriculture. Simple living and high thinking. Living the way God intended from things that come directly from God, like rain. You can't create a microchip or an app that makes it rain. So this is Prabhupada very often points this out throughout his purports, that Balaram's main purpose is to show us how to live simply off of the land. That's what his plow is for. But here in this verse, we found that Balaram is using his plow as a weapon, almost as a weapon. There's a commentary on Gita Govindam by Prabodhananda Thakur in which he explains a little bit more about this verse. He says in this verse, Vahasi, Jayadev Goswami glorifies Keshava for having taken the form of Balabhadra, who wields the plow. And he mentions the pastime. Vishade refers to the white color, Shubhra, like the moon, or like milk, or like pearls, or like snow. All the things we've heard Balaram compared to is white color. But Vapushi means on his body, or Dehe, Vasanam Jaladabham, means clothing that resembles the water. Which water? The water of the Yamuna. So he wears those clothes, Dhariyasi. Blue like the color of full rain clouds, Sajala Meghe Nilam, or blue like the color of the Yamuna. How is it so? Because, he explains, Hala Hati Bhiti Midata Yamunabham. Bhiti means fear. Bhitya, she's afraid. And Hati means she's afraid of being killed, slain. Hati means Hanana, being destroyed. And by the plow, Halenam of Lord Balaram. So Yamuna becomes afraid of he whose splendor or deepti is the same as hers. This is a simile, and it conceals a very deep thing, he says. It conceals a comparison between Balaram's blue cloth and the blue water of the Yamuna. The cloth, the bright, beautiful blue silken cloth that Lord Balaram wears is rippled by the breeze of the carrying the fragrance of kumud, water lilies. And just as his cloth, blue cloth, is rippling because of this breeze, which is meant to enhance his pastimes, in the same way, the water of the Yamuna also has ripples. What do those ripples represent? I can't hear you. Hands of Yamuna? Yeah, that's also stated by Rupa Goswami. She's offering obeisances with each and every wave. But here that's not the case. Here he says the comparison between Balaram's cloth rippling in the breeze is like the ripples of the Yamuna, which are trembling in fear. Because, well, we'll get to the story, as we know. The idea is that among those who are fearful, trembling is appropriate. So that he's making that comparison, but only implicitly. You have to be really sharp to catch it. Sometimes in Vrindavan, after drinking Varuni beverage and sporting with the gopis, Yamuna is summoned by Balabhadra. But considering his summons to be drunken babble, she doesn't come. She has something like pride, so she doesn't go to him. And from the Puranas we know that she was pulled by the tip of Balaram's plow out of anger. He threatened, and he actually began to pull her with the tip of his plow. So ultimately there was compliance. Now, Balaram, we normally hear that Balaram is in the mode of a servant, as we heard this morning from Janardhan Maharaj. That's something to consider here, because here Balaram seems to be asserting his authority in a very master sort of mood. So let's bookmark that, and we can return to that idea in a moment. But Balaram revealed his pastime of pulling Yamuna in order to enjoy happiness with those most beloved devotees of his. Who are the most beloved devotees of Lord Balaram? For whose sake did he pull the Yamuna? Did he threaten? because Balaram wanted to enjoy in the Yamuna water with his girlfriends. Balaram has his own gopis. He has his own set of gopis, different from Krishna's gopis. And at this point, when Balaram comes back to Vrindavan, actually all the gopis that he was previously sporting with, they've all grown up. So there's new gopis who have come. They heard about it. They want to take part also. It's just like when we're preaching Krishna consciousness. If we go to some place we haven't seen in many years, there's so many new people there. We don't know them yet. So Krishna's pastimes, it's happening like this. So some of the very young gopis, they came, and because they're inexperienced, therefore their desires are even stronger. Sometimes it's like that. But the older gopis are also there. They were previously younger gopis, now they're old. Everyone's old. Balaram came and he exchanged greetings with everyone, and according to their status, and mostly they were grown up. But it's all kinds here, all kinds of gopis here. But these are Balaram's gopis. So in order to enjoy with these gopis, Balaram threatened to pull the Yamuna towards himself because he was in an intoxicated mood, having drunken this Varuni beverage. We'll hear a little bit from Bhagavatam about this because it requires some explanation. But Haladhara, also the word Haladhara here, Jayadev Goswami hints that Balaram's purpose in holding the plow is also to subdue the wicked persons. Dushta nigrahartham. So it is a weapon on occasion. And here when he's angry, in his intoxicated mood, he's using it in that way. But the purpose of his incarnation, actual purpose of the Lord's incarnation, is actually to act for his devotees, to fulfill the purpose of his devotees. That is why Lord Balaram actually became angry. Yamuna, she's thinking he's just babbling in a drunken state. She's not considering this subtlety. Evidently, we don't really know this, at least I don't know this, but it would seem that she's, and it's actually stated here by the commentator, that she was a little bit as if proud and just considered that he's drunk. So she ignored him, she didn't come. But actually Balaram wanted to fulfill the purpose of his very appearance there in Vrindavan. Not only his appearance in the first place, but his reappearance, his return to Vrindavan, was only to solace these devotees. We've heard he was in such anxiety in Dwarka that he had to come back to Vrindavan. It would have been too difficult for Krishna to process this. But Balaram came himself. Anyway, so Amara Kosh says that the word vapu, here we have vapushi, means body, gatram vapu, samhananam shariram chakalevaram. Vishada means white, shukla, shubhra, shuchi, shweta, vishada, shweta, pandura, etc. These are all synonyms. And vasanam means dress, vastram, achadanam, vasas chaidam. This is vasanam astriyam. According to Vishwakosh, bhiti is used in the sense of fear, but it's also a word that's used in the sense of trembling, bhiti. So it's really quite appropriate. The word fits perfectly, whether you want to interpret it as Balaram's rippling cloth or the Yamuna's rippling in fear of that plow. He says, Halahari bhiti milita yamunabam, very beautifully. Now the blue Yamuna and the blue of Balaram's cloth. What color blue is it? Very deep blue. You can see here. Blue. Cows playing in the water in the Yamuna. So, Kanti Kandali Bhirintranila Vrindanindini. Rupa Goswami says about the color of the Yamuna, that color mocks the beauty of a whole, say, a plate full of sapphire gems. If you have a plate of gleaming sapphires, you can imagine how beautiful that must be. But the beauty of the bluish Yamuna, famous Two rivers, right? Best of friends, Ganga, Yamuna. Ganga is which color? Golden. And Yamuna is bluish. So the bluish, famous blue color of the Yamuna, it defeats even a host of Indranila Mani. Indranila means a sapphire. So, in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we have a description of this particular pastime, as well as in the Vishnu Purana, in the Harivamsha, in the Bhakti Ratnakar, there's mention, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, there's another episode in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became in ecstasy and adopted this mood of Balaram, intoxicated. He called for honey, and Nityananda was sharp enough, as we heard from Janardhan Maharaj. Everyone else is intoxicated completely by Yoga Maya, but Balaram usually has it together. Even in the most ecstatic situation, he's there. So Nityananda came and brought a pot of Ganga Jal to Mahaprabhu, who drank it, and they all became intoxicated drinking this Ganga Jal. So there's mention like this in various places. We'll discuss as many of these as time permits this morning. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is where the main narration of this event is, as well as Vishnu Purana, Harivamsha. They all have their own slightly different versions of the same thing. But we have 7 BBT purports to explain some 17 verses, I think, in the chapter 65 of the 10th canto, verses 18 through 34. And those BBT purports incorporate the commentaries of Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and other sources. So, let us hear from Bhagavatam. Purna Chandra Kala Mrishte Kaumadi Gandhavayuna Yamunopavane Reme Sevite Striganayar Vrataha. In the company of numerous women, Lord Balaram enjoyed in a garden by the Yamuna River. This garden was bathed by the rays of the full moon. Today's full moon. This pastime happened on full moon, and Balaram appeared on the full moon. It was bathed by the rays of the full moon, and it was caressed by breezes bearing the fragrance of, anybody caught it? Water lilies, Kaumadi, Vayuna. So according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Lord Balaram's conjugal pastimes took place in a small forest alongside the Yamuna, in a place known as, anybody know? Sri Ramaghatta, Ramaghat. It's near Sherghat. If you go to Kelanvan, the Sherghat is there, and Ramghat is there. What is that? Jaya Ramagata Jaya Rohini Nandan, Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasi Jatajan. That Ramghat. So, Gaudiya acharyas in general are going to favor the Madhurya Rasa, and that's why they mention this place. I'm thinking. I don't really know that as a fact, but anyway. So this is far away from the site of Lord Krishna's Ras Leela. Where did Lord Krishna perform Ras Leela? Many places, but in Vrindavan, kahan? Vamshivat, famous. So many places. But Balaram's Ras Leela happened at Ramaghat. It's a very beautiful place, very shady place. Raise your hand if you've been there. Yeah, many of those who are going on Parikrama, you know. And there's a temple there with a very beautiful deity of whom? Kinch Daoji. Kinch. Why Kinch? Because he pulls. He pulls Yamuna with his plowshare because she wasn't listening. She thought, oh, he's just drunk. So he pulls her. Just like we pull photos in Hindi, right? Photo khinchna theek rahega. So Balaram pulled the Yamuna. This happened in Kelanvan near Sherghat at Ramaghat. There's still a temple there. Little small deity, Kinchna Daoji. And he's beautiful white deity, like, because he's Balaram. All right. Sridhar Swami says that this place was bathed by the effulgence of the full moonbeams and served by the breeze carrying the fragrance of water lilies, or you can say the word Kaumudi suggests that the water lilies were actually blooming. In that way, they were served by the full moon beams. The moon was so bright that it made them bloom. Generally, the water lilies bloom at what time? Not water lilies. Kumud means like the ones in the MBT. When do you see them blooming? In the daytime. That's why she's called, what is that? Mam Punatu Sarvadara Vindabandhu Nandini. The friend of the lotus is the sun, because when the sun comes out, they blossom. When the sun disappears, they shrink. Sankuchita ho gaye. So this, in this case, the moon was so bright that these water lilies all started to bloom. This is Sridhar Swami's opinion. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that it was fragrant with the blooming white lotuses, or the lilies, not exactly lotus, but water lilies. Balaram's conjugal pastimes took place in a small forest. Yeah, we've already heard this, so don't need to go there. Varuna preshita devi varuni vrikshakotarat patanti tadvanam sarvam tadgandhenav dhyavasayat. Sent by the demigod Varun, the divine Varuni liquor flowed from a tree hollow and made the entire forest even more fragrant with its sweet aroma. Who was this Varuni? She's the daughter of Varun. Any fathers here? Raise your hand if you have daughters. Anyone here with daughters? So, is it very likely that you will send your daughter to the forest in the middle of the night to dance with a young boy? Not likely. But Varun sent his daughter. But you have to observe the social etiquette, correct? So in what form did he send his daughter? In the form of the sap coming from the tree. Nobody knows who she is. But she made that entire forest fragrant with her presence. Just like I was speaking with a god brother, we all know, those of us who live here in Vrindavan, when you get the roses, pink roses of Vrindavan are Vishvavikyata, world famous, because they have such sweet fragrance that you cannot find anywhere in the world except Vrindavan. So one god brother told me, do you know the reason why these roses are so fragrant here in Vrindavan? I said, tell me. He said, Krishna Radha Shyam Sundar's Bagicha is right on the bank of the Yamuna, and Yamuna knows very well that they're growing flowers that are going to come to Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar. So she goes underneath the ground and she infuses the roots of all those rose bushes with her own nectarean waters, which are the manifestation of her love of Godhead. And that's why they're so fragrant. It's the bhakti of Yamuna that makes these roses in Vrindavan so fragrant. Similarly, this bhakti of Varuni and Varun, her father as well, demigods, she took the form of this nectar or this sap in the trees. Ordinarily, we don't touch that, right? Just like in America, American pancakes. We went to MVT and we were sorely disappointed to find out that they're British pancakes. They're not American pancakes. But American pancakes, you have to smother it with what kind of syrup? Anybody? Maple syrup. And we don't touch maple syrup because it's very contaminated. Why is it contaminated? All sap is considered to be very contaminated because of Indra's curse, right? The women, they have their ritu, and the rivers also get contaminated a certain time. The trees, he distributed his sinful reaction among these various living entities. So even though it's very tasty, we don't touch. If we are concerned about sustaining ourselves, our psychophysical existence in the mode of goodness, which is very necessary for Krishna consciousness, then we won't take. But Varuni was like this. And the whole forest was fragrant with her love. And Balaram was attracted. So he went with several of his gopis, and they wanted to enjoy. Sridhar Swami explains, Varuni is a liquor distilled from honey. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds that the goddess Varuni, the daughter of Varuna, is the presiding deity of that particular kind of divine liquor, not ordinary intoxication. That's another thing we're not allowed. But this special kind of elixir, when you get into Krishna Lila, then you're allowed. If Balaram says, come on, let's go, then it's okay. Because after all, Balaram is spiritual master, we heard. You cannot disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Yamuna knows very well about that, isn't it? That's why she's trembling in fear here. So, the Acharya also quotes from this statement from Harivamsha. Samipam preshita pitra varunena tavanagha. Here the goddess Varuni says to Lord Balaram, my father Varuna has sent me to you, O sinless one. Similarly, everyone in this room, if you just stay in Krishna consciousness and hopefully stay in Vrindavan in Krishna consciousness, then one day you will join these pastimes also. And you will be able to say the same thing. Not my father sent me, but my guru sent me. I'm a disciple of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And then you'll get access. That's the passcode. Prabhupada said, anything with my name on it will always be successful. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That's why he insisted when they left out. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, he got very angry because it's an important thing. This is our formula of success. Yasya prasadan bhagavat prasado. Bus. Okay, so these are Sridhar Swami's comments and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Everything is very nicely explained by the editors of the BBT edition. They've incorporated all the major contributions to this discussion from our acharyas. Upagiyamano gandharvair vanita shobha mandale reme kareno yutesho mahendra iva varanaha. This is how Baladev is enjoying now. Usually we hear he's servant, but now how is he enjoying? Like a big bull elephant surrounded by so many she-elephants. Anyone here been to Guruvayur in Kerala? So you know, there are many servants who are very elephants, servants in elephant bodies who are very enthusiastically serving the Lord there. And there was one very famous elephant made some 50-something years ago, Keshavan. Still, he was so dear to the Lord that after he passed away, they took his tusks and put the tusks in the middle of the doorway to enter the deity room. That's how dear this elephant was. He was serving Guru Vairappa, Krishna, in this temple for many, many, many decades. And he was always very possessive and he would not let anyone else carry the Lord. Only he would do it. He was the biggest elephant also. So if anyone else tried to come in and get in on the action, he would just get aggressive. Whole life he did this. Then the system is that they have a race. All the elephants from their compound, they race to the temple. And the pujaris make sure there's some incentive to make them go fast. They know they're going to get fed when they get to the temple. But they race. And whichever elephant wins that race, he gets to do the seva for the coming year. Now Keshavan, he knew this. Not an ordinary elephant at all. Definitely someone from some other place. Probably Vaikuntha. Bhuloka Vaikuntham they call it. Or if you speak Malayalam, they call it Bhuloka Vaikundam. So this Keshavan, he made sure that he won the race every single year, but one year when he was too old, they were doubtful whether he can do it this time, but they thought, give him a chance. He lost the race. But he was not prepared to give up his service. So the pujaris were all very worried what to do. If, an elephant, when he gets mad, it's not good. So this elephant, somehow or other, they gave him a chance, and struggling, he took the deity, but he made it. But after he finished with the procession around the temple, very much like what they do in Mayapur, the Mayapur elephants, whole thing is modeled after Guru Vayur. So then he came down, and deity went back in the temple, and Gajaraja Keshavan paid his obeisances, and he left his body on the spot. And this was on Guru Vayur Ekadashi, biggest Ekadashi of the year there. So, such a dear elephant. Now, there was a she-elephant. Her name was Lakshmi Kuti. Those who speak Tamil can understand what this means. So she was actually in love with Gajaraja Keshavan. So when he passed away, also she became very much distraught and depressed, and they couldn't really control her. So anyway, long-winded story, but it's relishable. That's why I'm telling it. But the point is that Balaram was enjoying like big elephant with so many she-elephants. That's what they do. Especially they like to bathe. Padapa, they drink with their foot, the elephants. The name in Sanskrit for elephant is padapa. Tree is also padapa because a tree also drinks through its feet, right? Roots. So the elephant has a fifth foot, that is his trunk, and he drinks through that. And then he blows the water out of his trunk and he sprays, and they play like this. If you've seen elephants, this is how they play. So Balaram was just like that. And he appeared just as Indra's elephant, lordly Airavata, enjoying in the company of so many she-elephants. Balaram encircled by so many of special gopis, Balaram's gopis. Balaram ki! Yeah. Now, Ne durdurdu bhayovyomne vavrishu kusamair muda gandharva manayoramam tadviryair irire tada. At that time, kettle drums resounded in the sky. Kettle drums? Are you sure? Not exactly. Kettle drums is like a big copper thing, and they use them in timpani. They use them in orchestras in Western music. Here, kettle drums means dundubhi. There's no adequate word for this in English, so you have to say kettle drums. But nowadays they're called nakara. And if you go to some older temples, like Rajaraman Temple, on special occasions, there's just over the doorway, there's a place called Nobat Khana, where they play these nakara and shahnai. At least in North Indian temples. In South, they play nadaswaram and tavil, another kind of drum. But Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada actually wanted this to happen in the front gate of Mayapur as well. And for some time it was sustained, but I don't know what happened. They stopped it. Do you remember this? Around 1976 or something. They actually had some guys playing Shinai there. But then eventually my godbrother Janapavana went to Calcutta and he bought a cassette tape, Bismillah Khan. So they put that on instead. And then Hote it all just finished. Now we don't hear anything. But this is an auspicious practice since time immemorial. So the gods in heaven, they were showering flowers, and they were playing these nakara drums, and they were in this way glorifying Balaram's heroism, his heroic deeds. In the 10th canto, elsewhere in the 10th canto, Srila Prabhupada comments, in the pastimes of Vraja, Lord Krishna is the chief hero, and Balaram provides additional help. That's his function. Okay. Upagiyamana charito vanita bhirhalayutha vaneshu vyachadat kshibo madavihvalalochanaha. As his deeds were sung, Lord Halayutha wandered as if inebriated amongst the various forests with his girlfriends. His eyes rolled from the effects of liquor. Saragveka kundalo matto vaijayantya chamadaya bibhrat smita mukham bhojam sweda praleya bhushitam sa ajuhava yamunam jalakridarthamishwaraha nijam vakyamanatrutya matta ityavaga apagam badaha anagatam halagrena kupito vichakarshaha. That means, intoxicated with joy, Lord Balaram sported flower garlands, including the famous Vaijayanti Mala. He wore a single earring, and beads of perspiration decorated his smiling lotus face like snowflakes. Hailstones is another way you can put it. The Lord then summoned the Yamuna river so that he could play in her waters, but she disregarded his command, thinking, he's drunk. This angered Balaram, and he began dragging the river with the tip of his plow. Mata, Shibo means intoxicated. And Sweta Eva Pralayam means decorated by snow. So he was ornamented in this way. So she showed him no deference, and she did not come. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elaborates, she just thought he's an intoxicated person whose words have no authority. No authority. Just like Prabhupada says, Suno Sakhi Mata, right? A Sakhi who's Mata, can you allow this in court? If you have a witness, but he's a drunkard, and he was drunk at the time of the offense, will you take his testimony? No. So Yamuna was thinking like this. He's just intoxicated. He doesn't know what he's saying. She thought, but quickly she found out. Actually, she had a little bit of pride, it would seem, because here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, she disregarded him and did not come. She was thinking, if Balaram calls me wanting to enjoy in my waters, then let him come to me. This is what he says. Pape Tvam mama vajnaya jannaya simaya hata neshye tvam langala grena shatatha kamacharini. He calls her kamacharini. Kamacharini means a girl who goes wherever she wants. We see them nowadays, isn't it? Anywhere they want. They're always moving. You never know where they are independently. So this is what Balaram is calling Yamuna River at this point. He's quite angry. He's calling her sinful one, Pape. Just like we say Radhe for Radha, so he says Pape for Papa. Sinful person. Disrespecting me, you don't come when I call you, but rather move only wherever you want to go. Therefore, with the tip of my plow, I'm going to bring you here in 100 pieces. This is his threat. So, if you don't come, I'll make you come here. This is the point. Yamuna, who appeared here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, before Balaram in the form of a river, this is the wife of the ocean and an expansion of Kalindi, one of Krishna's queens in Dwarka. She's not Swayam Yamuna, the younger sister of Yama. Not the Yamuna that we worship here in Vrindavan. She is an expansion of Krishna's queen, Kalindi, in Dwarka. And she's the wife of the ocean, it's also said. How these two reconcile, I can't say. But we have both accounts. And we know that it's true, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, because Harivamsha confirms. There's a statement there in which it's stated in Harivamsha, Pratyuvacha Arnava Vadhum. Arnava Vadhu means the wife of the ocean. So she replied, wife of the ocean. Usually this kind of thing is explained by our acharyas as a kalpa bheda. In different kalpas, the pastimes play themselves out in slightly different ways. Just like we have a supermarket, all the same items in that supermarket and pretty much in the same order in every single outlet, but the physical construction of the building will be different, and so it may be some small differences. In this way, the Lord's pastimes in different kalpas, sometimes they play out in little different ways. That's why we find different accounts in Vishnu Purana, in Harivamsha, and Srimad-Bhagavatam. So she can be the expansion of Krishna's queen, Patamahishi, named Kalindi in Dwarka, or she can also be the wife of the ocean. Now, text 27. Evam nirbharsita bhita yamuna yadunandanam uvacha chakita avacham patita padayor nrpa. This is the thing that Jayadev Goswami is discussing. Having been scolded by the Lord, O king, the frightened river goddess Yamuna came and fell at the feet of Sri Balaram, the beloved descendant of Yadu, trembling. Chakita means trembling. she spoke to him the following words. Actually, Jiva Goswami calls her a shadow of Kalindi, Chaya. That's another way, another authoritative opinion. And Harivamsha also refers to her as Sagara Angana. Just like every morning, what do we sing? Gopa Angana. Samasta Guna Ganadhama. Because he's the abode of all wonderful qualities like mercy and compassion and love, therefore, he's the most beloved of the Gopanganas, the cowherd women. Okay, Sridhar Swami simply says, Chakita Kumbhita. Chakita means trembling. Jiva Goswami says, this is a facsimile form of Lord Krishna's queen. And Harivamsha we've already heard, so the same thing. Now, Rama Rama Mahabaho Najane Tava Vikramam Yasyaikanshena Varsata Jagati Jagatapate. Goddess Yamuna replies. She says, O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, I didn't know about your prowess, but with a single portion of yourself you uphold the earth. Ekanshena means, in particular, Shesha Akhena. This is the purport given by who? Everyone. Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami also, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur doesn't comment. But with a single portion of yourself, that is Shesh, whose incarnation you are, you hold up this whole cosmic manifestation. And then she says, second verse of her prayer, Param bhavam bhagavato bhagavan mama janatim muktum arahasi vishvatman prapannam bhaktavatsala. Oh my Lord, please release me. O soul of the universe, I didn't understand your position as the Supreme Godhead, but now I've surrendered unto you. And you were always kind to your devotees. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells us Param bhavam here means Lord Balaram's original identity. Mahasankarshanam. Isko band kiya jaye. Please. It's causing me a problem. Tato vyamunchad yomunam yachito bhagavan balaha vijagaha jalam stribhi kareno bhira ive bharat. Second time we've heard this. Thereupon Lord Balaram released the Yamuna, and like a king of elephants with his entourage of she-elephants, he entered the river's water with his female companions. Vijagaha here means he plunged in. Avagahanam kritavan. This is what Sridhar Swami says. Almost finished. Kamam vihritya salilad uttirnayasitam bare bhushanani maharhani dadau kanti shubham srajam. This is interesting. Listen to this. The Lord played in the water to his full satisfaction, and when he came out, Goddess Kanti presented him with blue garments, 2 of them, precious ornaments, and a brilliant necklace. Who is this Goddess Kanti? Anybody who's read this knows. Purport, Srila Sridhar Swami quotes from Vishnu Purana to show that Goddess Kanti mentioned here is actually Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. The verse he quotes is Varuna pratatha chasmai malam amlana pangajam sumudrabhe tathavastre nile lakshmira yachata. Sent by Varuna, goddess Lakshmi then presented him with a garland of unfading lotuses and a pair of garments colored blue like the ocean. Here Bhagavatam mentions Lord Balaram was given a golden necklace. But here in this verse we hear that Balaram was given a garland of lotus flowers from Vishnu Purana. This is an example of what I said. Padhantara we call it, a different reading. So, Sridhar Swami says, also quoting from the Harivamsh, I won't say the Sanskrit in the interest of saving time, O Lord, please accept as divine ornaments for your ears this single gold earring studded with diamonds and this primeval lotus called Padma. Kindly accept them, for this act of adornment is traditional. Always a good idea to do traditional thing. And Balaram, as the Shrestha, has to set an example for the rest of us, because whatever he does, we will take it as pramanam. You don't have to turn all of them off, just this one. Oh, thank you. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further points out that Goddess Lakshmi is the consort of the Lord's plenary expansion Sankarshana, who belongs to the second Vyuha. So this Kanti is an expansion of Lakshmi in her form as the consort of Sankarshana. Secondary expansion. So Kanti gave him 2 blue garments. Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes Vishnu Purana and Harivamshas, did Sridhar Swami. Jiva Goswami simply says, Kantir Lakshmi Amsha. This Kanti is an expansion of Lakshmi. That's all. We don't need to know more. Okay. Vasitva vasisini le malam amutya kanchanim rege swalankrito lipto mahendra ivavarana. Lord Balaram dressed himself in the blue garments and put on the gold necklace. You all can picture this in your minds. Beautiful blue garments, beautiful gold necklace, white complexion on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Keep that in your mind for the rest of the day. Lord Balaram, Ki Jai. Anointed with fragrances and beautifully adorned, he appeared as resplendent as Indra's royal elephant. Anointed with sandalwood paste and other pure fragrant substances, Balaram resembled Airavata, the great elephant of Lord Indra. Amuchya here means placing around his neck, and alipta means he was anointed with sandal paste and other such things. Adyapi trishyate rajam yamuna krishta vartmana balasyananta viryasya viryam sujayati vahi. We mentioned this already. Even today, O king, this is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, one can see how the Yamuna flows through many channels created when it was dragged by the unlimitedly powerful Lord Balaram. Thus she demonstrates his prowess, even today. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Yamuna is marked with paths made by being drawn by the plow. And we heard from Janardhan Maharaj, Akrishta. What does Akrishta mean? Attracted. Just as Balaram attracted the Yamuna or pulled the Yamuna, so the spiritual master, his tangible manifestation for the most of us, he's pulling us and getting us attracted as well. That's why we depend entirely on his divine grace and should not forget his mercy upon us and its importance. All right, final verse. Evam sarva nishaya tad ekeva ramato vraje ramasya kshipta chittasya madhurya vrajayoshitam. Thus for Lord Balaram all the nights passed like a single night as he enjoyed in Vraja, his mind enchanted by the exquisite charm and beauty of Vraja's young ladies. Purport. Lord Balaram was enchanted by the charming pastimes of the beautiful young ladies of Vraja. Thus each night was a completely new experience, and all the nights passed as if they were a single night. Sridhar Swami tells us, Ekeva ekaiva nishaya tata. Eka iva, as if one, means virtually it was one night only. They experienced it as one night. The nights passed in that way. Madhuryai, with sweetness. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that means that all the nights passed as if they were a single night, since each night brought a completely new experience. Okay. All right, so it's a few minutes before 10. Shall I continue? Because there's more, there's always more. You want to hear more, or shall I stop? You want to hear more? Okay, so the Adi Leela, chapter 17, text 115, we mentioned already. Ekadina Prabhu Vishnu Mandape Vashya Madhuana Bolena Dakiya. One day the Lord, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sat down in the corridor of a Vishnu temple and began calling very loudly, bring honey, bring some honey. Nityananda Gosai Prabhu Rabesha Janilo Ganga Jala Patrani Shamuge Dharilo. Nityananda Prabhu Gosai, understanding the ecstatic mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, brought a pot of Ganges water as a token and put it before him. Jalpana koriya nache haya bifal, Jamuna karshan lila dekhe shakal. After drinking the water, Lord Chaitanya became so ecstatic that he began to dance. Thus everyone saw the pastime of attracting the river Yamuna. This is called Yamuna Karshan Lila. Akarshan Lila. Akrishta Yamuna. Sankarshana is the one doing all this. He's the one pulling. It means the same thing as Kim Sadauji. Balaram ki jai. Purport. Yamuna Karshan Lila is the pastime of attracting the Yamuna. One day Sri Baladev wanted the Yamuna river to come before him, and when the river Yamuna refused, he took his plow, wanting to dig a canal so that the Yamuna would be obliged to come there, because water always goes down, like us. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the original form of Baladev, in his ecstasy he asked everyone to bring honey. In this way, all the devotees standing there saw the Yamuna Karshan Leela. In this Leela, Baladev was accompanied by his girlfriends. After drinking a honey beverage called Varuni, which we've heard about already, he wanted to jump into the Yamuna to swim with the girls. It is stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam that Lord Baladev asked the Yamuna to come near, and when the river disobeyed the order of the Lord, he became angry and thus wanted to snatch her near to him with his plow. The Yamuna, however, very much afraid of Lord Balaram's anger, his eyes were red, it's described. When Balaram's eyes are red, be careful. Just like when Srila Prabhupada's lip began to quiver, you also have to be very careful. That means he's very angry. So she immediately came near and surrendered unto him, praying unto the Lord and admitting her fault. She was then excused immediately. If you bow down to someone you've offended and beg forgiveness, immediately excused. For Vaishnavas especially, they're by nature, they're kind. Spiritual master in particular. He is the incarnation of the Lord's kindness. And Nityananda Prabhu is also one of the twin incarnations of compassion, Karunavatarao. So, she was excused. This is the sum and substance of Yamuna Karshan Leela. The incident is also described in the prayer of Jayadev Goswami concerning the 10 incarnations. We've already read that. Madamatta gati baladeva anukar acharya shekharatane dekhe ravakar. When the Lord in his ecstasy as Baladev was moving as if intoxicated by the beverage, Advaita Acharya, the chief of the Acharyas, Acharya Shekhar, saw him in the form of Balaram. Vanamali Acharya dekhe shornar langul shabe midit nritya kore avesha vihwal. Vanamali Acharya saw a golden plow in the hand of Balaram, and the devotees all assembled together and danced, overwhelmed by ecstasy. This is from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. Okay, just a couple of minutes left until 9 o'clock. Maybe I should ask if anyone has any questions or any comments. We have a few moments. Yes, Prabhuji. What does Dina Bandhu call him? Jigyasu?
So you were giving the example of Balaram having different gopis and Krishna having different gopis. So how the discrimination is there about the gopis?
It seems that Balaram keeps these pastimes far apart. He doesn't want to. It's a private affair. I am not the person to discuss this, but he wants to keep it very separate from Krishna's Ras Leela. and it's a completely private